Hi, I'm Laserdisc, and I was absent for a while, but now I'm back and ready to make some more visual masterpieces. This is one of them. Utopia is a underground British drama series released on Channel 4 in 2013. In this niche British drama with funky colors, within my first viewing became one of my favorite pieces of visual media ever created. It is a crazy experience, and I heavily recommend that you eventually watch the whole series on your own. It's only 12 episodes, and it's all on YouTube with no ads, so you can watch with the family. Maybe except for the brutal torture and school shooting scenes. Probably can't watch those with grandma. But we'll get to that later. Before we get to that heavy-hitting stuff I was talking about earlier, let's just talk about the fun stuff, and I think this is the coolest part about the show. Color is an often overlooked aspect in TV and film, even though without it we'd have like nothing cool really. I mean, most cool things have some color now. I mean, look at this shot. It's so colorful. And color is a very prevalent narrative tool used throughout Utopia, but before we talk about all that, let's put it in some perspective and talk about The Godfather. The Godfather's use of color is something that is actually talked about, but not in the right ways usually. Like, I mean, most people know that when oranges are seen in The Godfather 1 and 2, a character death usually is swift to occur. But this is, like, kinda wrong. It's not the fruit in specific, which is literally what every article and video you will find says. No, it's the color, and Utopia does something very similar. In The Godfather, oranges, instead of just being a neat little thing that you can see and then use as a prediction, it's more used as a narrative tool, so once you see the pattern, a deep sense of dread resides in the viewer that just makes you worry that any character that you like could die. A color here is used as a narrative tool. This is incredibly powerful. If you see a person in an orange shirt on the street in one of these films, you can be worried that this character is going to be shot by them or something. And Utopia does the exact same thing, but I'd say even better. Within all of the first seasons of Utopia's branding, you see this vibrant yellow color all over. This yellow color is used as a very similar narrative device in Utopia, except it's much more clear, with many of the main villains that we see in the first episode having this yellow color somewhere in their branding, if that's the right word. This is seen best with Lee's vibrant yellow suit, Milner's yellow beetle, and most prominently Pietre's yellow bag, which is seen before almost every tragedy within the show. Yeah, it's time to talk about that scene. You remember the one I mentioned that you probably shouldn't watch with your grandma? Yeah. Let's talk about the school shooting scene. The episode opens with Pietre grabbing a flip phone out of his bag, and then a pan to him sitting in a bathroom stall, until eventually he gets a call. And so he waddles into the main area of the school and walks up to the principal, and it's like, "Oi, bruv, where the bloody bloke's at, bruv? I'm British." Then he just...
in the gym.
And then he waddles like a penguin into each room with all the kids. First, the geology club. Then the student the principal had off to the side. Then he waddles into the gym and sees a boy cowering, eating chocolate raisins. This is an amazing scene. Up to this point, Pietre was just known as RB, not like the restaurant, like the initials, RB. That's not a name. It stood for Raisin Boy. His only semblance of humanity was these little chocolate raisins. And, like, he sees himself in this tiny little kid because of these chocolate raisins. It's amazing storytelling. But being Pietre, he... And it cuts to the title card. The big white letters spelling Utopia on the color yellow. In the first episode, it was immediately established that yellow stood for bad. Later in the series, we learned that it specifically stood for the network, basically the overarching evil bad guys in the series who are basically behind every misdoing that we see. They're the people that called Pietro and the people who turned him into the husk of a man, which he is today. I mean, the very first shot in the series already establishes this with the man in the bright yellow suit kneeling down and pulling a lead pipe out of the bright yellow bag. Later, which he uses the pipes to, bonk! But I guess what I'm trying to say is that Utopia uses this color in a menacing way, which is very hard to do with a color. Upon the sight of not only the bag, but just the color in general, you know that something bad is going to happen, or you just feel it somehow. But color isn't the only thing that is amazing about this show. I usually hate talking about, political commentary, not because I'm not, interested in it, which I guess is mildly interesting, but mostly just because I have to, write long essays like this at school, and it makes me, dull it down and stuff and make it palatable. But this time it's my channel, so I get to do what I want. Utopia perfectly showcases how easily it is to corrupt the people in our police and government systems with something as simple as a paper holder, enough to manipulate the head of a National Department of Health to order what he thought was a completely useless vaccine, when it was obvious that there weren't completely innocent inventions. Did I just say it says inventions in my script. I meant to say completely innocent intentions. Literally every minor character in Utopia seems like a pawn to the network that they can easily manipulate to do their bidding. I mean, they turn someone who seems like they would be a completely good contender to be this elusive Mr. Rabbit figure who is the head of the network, supposedly, into some innocent man that they just planted into a high place of power so they could spread Janus throughout their food. By the way, Janus I don't think is a thing I'm going to talk about because it is very weird. It's like eugenics and real Nazi things. It's really weird. I really don't want to talk about it right here. And this is hardly an exaggeration either. All of this could very well happen in the real world and could be happening right now, and none of us would know. I mean, the show has hardly any sci-fi elements due to it being part of the dying genre known as modern dystopia, which is something that is mainly only known about by Half-Life fans and Facebook moms talking about Biden's America. But seriously, Utopia does this genre insanely well, and definitely better than all of its competitors, which is Squid Game, and that's it. But Utopia highlights the real-world corruption within these judicial systems in a horrifying way, making it seem like almost anyone could be a part of the network. It makes you think how many elites in this world could be part of some Utopia-esque conspiracy. Throughout the show, the head of the network is known as Mr. Rabbit, and for almost the whole series of users is speculating about who this elusive Mr. Rabbit figure is, but that doesn't really matter. To the writers of Utopia, Mr. Rabbit isn't supposed to be a finite character within the series, if you know what I mean. He's supposed to be a symbol of power or some other deep philosophical dumb thing, and Utopia wants you to think that Mr. Rabbit could be any of us in the real world. Probably except for Donald Glover. I mean, he cool.